Hi there, this video is about why your MSP is chaos. My name is Eric Muth and I'm from the company Support Adventure. I'm the founder of the company. We like to call ourselves the expat outsourcing company because we hire global citizens living abroad in lower cost regions of the world. I myself am from Toronto, Canada, and I live in a place called Belgrade, Serbia, and I've also lived in London, UK, where the business is located and most of our clients are. So basically, I wanted to make this video to address in our work, outsourcing work for managed service providers doing IT support desk, help desk services. I've seen a lot of trends in terms of the problems that the companies we service face. And indeed, the things that hold back us from providing the best service possible to their clients. So I'm going to go over the list. It's a long list. It's about 11 points here, but I think that if you're running an MSP, you might empathize with at least a couple of these points. So it's worth listening to the experience I have with this and servicing multiple MSPs in case anything I say might be able to help you sort of get beyond this. Anyways, number one, your staff is too smart. The people you hire are above average intelligence, and you might think, why is this a problem if I hire really smart people? Well, I am one of those types of people. You throw me in a situation with a problem, I will quickly figure out what the problem is, how to fix it, how to relate that to the client, even if I've never even used the technology. I'm lightning fast on Google, and I'm just coming up with a solution really quickly and fixing it really quickly. And the problem with this is people like me who are good at figuring things out tend not to be the detail-oriented people who follow structures. Because we're so good at figuring things out really quickly, we don't follow structures. We just solve problems and off to the next problem, off to the next battle. And your staff being too smart can be a disadvantage because having people who are that smart and having the solutions ending up only in their heads and not in documentation means that they are not teachable. What they're doing is not documented, and they're not following a procedure that will allow you to give your clients a consistent experience using your service. It will not allow you to manage the expectations with the clients because if they get somebody who is not instantly able to solve their problem, they know that problem has been solved by someone else, they're going to ask why. And the reason often is because the person who solved the problem is too smart and too hasty to actually write it down. Now that takes us to number two, poor documentation. If I can, most of the MSPs that we've onboarded to my company Support Adventure have a problem with documentation. And the best clients that we've worked with are willingly able to admit that they have a problem and they need help with it. So what we do at Support Adventure is we help clients with this. And the greatest problem is usually that not enough procedure is given to how documentation should be kept. Not enough accountability is held to the engineers are not held accountable for keeping documentation, and they just don't have time for it because they're too busy fighting fires. And the culture of documentation is something that takes a while, but basically from Support Adventure as an outsider in your company helping with your stuff, what we do is we go through a checklist for each client that basically from our perspective we need a certain amount of information to service a client, and if the information we have is not there, chances are that will lead to an escalation if we get a service ticket involving stuff like do we know what the internet service provider is, do we know the support number, contract number, do we know what kind of router is there, do we know the domain admin password for the server. That all needs to be there, and we have a checklist and we go through and sort of proactively audit clients' documentation and then hold the technicians in the organization accountable for keeping that documentation as well, if our clients permit us to do that. Instituting a culture of documentation is a struggle, especially if you've been working with the same sort of engineers for years and you're trying to teach an old dog new tricks, as they say. That could be very challenging, but with a system of accountability and constant sort of nagging, like a mother would get their children to brush their teeth, maybe it's possible. The third one is technical documentation. We absolutely need, even if we are, the type of service technicians that can solve problems. If we don't have the credentials to log into the panel where we would solve that problem or would see what's going on, no chance. But the next thing I want to talk about is number 3, engineers' manuals. I can count on one hand, if I've worked with 15 different MSPs, I believe the number is around that. I can count on one hand how many of those 15 have actually had anything resembling a engineer's manual, anything that they handed us on the first day saying, this is a walkthrough of our systems, this is how they work, this is the key information you will need to know in order to do this job. A lot of the time, they just sort of do this training process, which is, here are the logins to the system. Let us know if you have questions. Sit next to Bob for a few days, ask him the questions. And in a remote working relationship, this has proven to be challenging, especially when it comes to rules about escalations, rules about what constitutes project work rather than regular service tickets and all that stuff. It's just a lot of people who are running MSPs think it's enough to verbally impart this information, and I would say that is enough until you have more than 5 engineers and certainly more than 10 engineers, at which point this becomes chaos. And a lot of people think that ConnectWise University or Autotask's training systems or all the videos, thousands of hours of videos they have on these systems is enough to hand someone over that and train them with that. But I think the amount of information is overwhelming. And if you hire somebody who's worth their salt in terms of IT tech stuff, they should be able to figure things out with a few key pieces of information about how you and your company want the systems used. So what we do in Support Adventure is we help companies make these manuals. So basically, we can get on a call with whoever's supposed to be training us, whoever a new trainee would sit next to and absorb information into their heads over a process of weeks. And we will record a call with these people and then go, and from the information imparted in those calls, create manuals with screenshots and instructional videos explaining step-by-step how to do. So when you hire a new person, or we have to onboard a new engineer onto your systems, we just hand them the links to the materials they need to study and then ask if they have any questions. And it seems to work a lot better because having these things written down is really key, because if you want to hold somebody accountable to following these systems, are you going to say, hey, remember 4 weeks ago I sent you an email saying, can you not do this? You probably can't even find that email, or it would be a chore to do that. Or remember in that call last month, I told you don't escalate a ticket like that. No. Write all that down. We can help you. Write all that down and basically hold people accountable to it. When somebody does something that's not as you want, you should have that in a manual as you want the process to be followed, and you just refer them back to that and say, take a look at this. This is what you're supposed to do in this situation. Sounds crazy, I know, but imagine McDonald's, the fast food chain, all over the world manages to hire teenagers to make a consistent Big Mac in every country. They don't do that by hiring people and say, stand next to this guy, watch what he does, or hiring a teenager and saying, make it taste good. No, every part of making that hamburger is documented. And would you want to, okay, let's go into the next one first. No accountability. Number 4, no accountability. So you have these guidelines, you have these ways that people are supposed to behave in your company, and say you actually did make a manual that explains it all, lays out the rules in plain English, and what's next? You need somebody to hold them accountable to it consistently. And the analogy I always use for this sort of stuff, both the manual and the accountability, writing down procedures, holding people accountable to following them. Would you want to get on an airplane that didn't do that? Would you want to get on an airplane that didn't have strict procedures for takeoff and landing, that didn't have a strict protocol of communication with air traffic control and ground crew and all of those people who are instrumental in making sure that you don't die when you're taking an airplane? Now, through proceduralization and accountability, we have managed to make aviation even safer than driving a car or walking across the street, and it's amazing. And I would say that the IT industry uses similar systems in complexity. The systems are really similar in complexity, and that we should strive to have the same level of precision and accountability and documentation on what procedures people are supposed to follow. I know it's a little different, but yeah. And would you want, by the way, would you want to be on a plane where the pilot is asked to land the plane and he hasn't been trained on it? I see stuff like that in the IT industry all the time. People troubleshooting software they've never heard of 2 minutes before. It happens. Number 5. This is something that might resonate with you as a business owner. Maybe not, I don't know. But the sense that I get from dealing with a lot of these business owners is that their business is just about profitable enough at the stage that it's at to satisfy them. You're satisfied with the amount of money you're making. It might be a bit of a grind day in and day out, dealing with the clients, managing this business, putting out fires, dealing with complaints, so on and so forth. But, you have 5 engineers, maybe 600 endpoints that you're managing, and everybody's getting paid. You're making a profit. Everybody's pretty happy at the end of the day. In another business, they would have had to proceduralize things to the point where they would scale their operations and have 20 people working before they would be able to make the money to satisfy them. But in the IT industry, there's enough money floating around that you can make a small mom and pop sort of business and make it profitable enough to satisfy you. And so when it comes to, and you're trying to maintain that with the least amount of staff, because you hire someone new, that's, a couple grand off your bottom line every month. And therefore everybody's always, we'll get to this later, but everybody's always stressed out and they don't have enough time to, and you don't have enough time to implement more structure, more accountability, more procedures that are written down, and technical documentation. So are you satisfied with your business? Do you want to grow bigger? Because I've seen businesses just about fall apart once they get over 10 engineers without the proper structure. And having all the systems, IT glue, ConnectWise, whatever, RMM, might not be enough if you don't have your staff using that in a consistent way. Number 6, you support anything. I've got enough experience in the MSP sales realm that I know how hard it is to get clients. It's pretty hard sometimes. Word of mouth only goes so far. You want to grow more. And so you end up inheriting older technologies from previous providers, so on and so forth. You sort of have a conversation with the client at the beginning about, well, it might be good to replace this, but at the end you just accept that they're not going to do that. And so your engineers are expected to support, for example, the most horrible example I can think of in recent memory was a property management software that when we started it, database-driven property management software, proprietary software with a small developer, that when we started it, it popped up a message, cannot find Excel 97. We had to support this. In one case, we had the support of the software developer, but when you called their support line, it was clear that they were utterly sick of having to support it as well. We logged them onto one of our machines to fix this problem that was keeping one of the client's machines from... we logged them onto a client's machine, and basically they did a fix involving the registry, and it managed to crash the workstation service in Windows 10 and make that computer unable to access network file sharing. Not very much fun. Not very much fun at all. We had to get them to undo everything after we spent about 45 minutes convincing them that this was actually their fault. Long story short, don't support anything. If you can, get your sales funnels tweaked so that you can accept the clients who have the money to pay you and trust your expertise when you say this Excel 97 dependent software probably isn't going to cut it on a Windows 10 environment anymore. Nope. And here's the proposal. Take it or leave it. And if you leave it, we can offer you limited support, and you make it very clear what's not included in that. And see, this is what we call Frankenstack. I mean, Frankenstack is when you're supporting all sorts of different whatever, Wouldn't it be great if all clients had Windows 10, Office 365, and possibly some better file sharing slash collaboration software than SharePoint, OneDrive? That would be great. It's ideal. I know you're not in that position likely right now. It's painful sometimes. Yeah. And so everybody's busy, and a lot of MSPs promise proactive steps to be taken. Number 7, proactive steps are not taken. This is something I see a lot. They run around selling these contracts. Oh, we're an MSP. You pay monthly. We'll make sure your computers don't break. We'll make sure they're all patched, everything. And at the end of the day, that's kind of the thing that gets, that along with documentation is the sort of thing that gets swept under the rug really quickly once guys get busy, stressed out, overloaded with tickets. So I like to suggest to my clients that there's always, in all of the offices we service, there's always an extra computer. If somebody's computer break, rather than having them call every 20 minutes saying, I can't work, how can we fix this? Then I like to say, well, can you take out that extra computer that's in the comms room perhaps and turn it on, start TeamViewer, we'll log on, and in 20 minutes you'll be up and running on a different machine. Yay, rather than, sorry, we can't send someone on site until tomorrow. You're just going to have to live with it. Sorry, I know you have lots of projects. You can't work today. Happens way too much, and you just have a couple extra machines, maybe one for every 15 users on site, and there's always an alternative. Otherwise, there is. Same with backup internet. Those are proactive steps that I always try to get my MSP clients to implement. I don't know. At least the suggestions there. I'm using a ThinkPad right now, i5 processor, 16 gigs of RAM that I paid a total of £200 for. Anyways, this is all a symptom of the next one, which is a major one for me. People are too busy. Everybody in the MSP space seems to be busy. There's always something urgent. There's always clients calling. There's always this ticket, that ticket. They're behind on this, behind on that, all of this stuff. And it just turns to chaos. And the chaos that I see is not necessarily that they've been given too much work, but they're not given the environment in which to organize their time so that work is done efficiently with focus, one task after another. The MSP space, you tend to be, a lot of these technicians, a lot of my guys work from home because that's what they prefer. I prefer working from home. I'm at home working right now because I know that nobody's going to come up and tap on my shoulder or ask me if I'm busy because I'm at home, not in the office. And a lot of MSPs have a bunch of guys sitting in a open office plan, talking to each other, talking to clients. You can't, even if nobody's talking to you, you can't even concentrate properly. And then there might be, emails coming in all the time, phones ringing, guys asking you for information that's in your head that you haven't documented, and all this stuff. I've also organized my time as a service desk engineer. I've done it like that, especially on a dispatch role. Really crazy, really frustrating, even though it doesn't, you're not solving problems, you're just dispatching them. And also I've put myself in a position where I am given only one ticket at a time to solve and finish and document and, write the proper ticket notes and then on to the next one. And that sort of leads to a less stressed service desk. So when I hear everybody talking about how they're so busy, I view it as sort of a lack of time management, in my opinion. Maybe people are busy, but if your staff is consistently busy, if you can have a button on the desk, push here when you're busy, like a stress reliever. Like at the border control in the UK, they have the little smiley faces or the frowning face based on your experience. If your staff is pushing busy all the time, either you have to get them managing their time and focus better, or you need to hire more people, I think. Talk to me. We got people for half the price of the staff. Save half on your staff. But anyways, that takes us to the next one, number 9, a lack of communications policy. Now, this is a big one. Like I said, the phone might be ringing. People might be tapping you on the shoulder. People might be emailing you. Everything that's possible should be on your ticketing system, first of all. Any question about a ticket should be, if it's not urgent, added to that ticket, and then a time scheduled for the engineer who needs to weigh in to review that. Um, the and calling when it's urgent. When something is urgent, pick up the phone. Pick up the phone, call them, ask them. As soon as possible, you get an answer in 30 seconds. Rather than the worst form of communication I see in the MSP space is called chat. Hi, Eric. I write back, hi, I'm already distracted from what I'm doing. And it says, Brian is typing. Okay, well, what's Brian typing? I've been distracted. He's taken me away from this problem I was solving. Brian, what do you have to say? Why are you messaging me? 2 minutes later. Hi, I'm wondering if you know what the IP address is for the printer at client XYZ. Okay, so if Brian had called me, if it's really that urgent that Brian needs to know this right now, he should have called me and in 10 seconds he would have asked that question. And I would have answered, yes, I know that. No, I don't know that. Or, did you check IT Glue? Did you check the documentation? I put it there. Did you check my previous ticket? It's on there. With chat, do you feel like I'm wasting your time right now? This is what chat does. So chat turns 30-second conversations and a 30-second urgent distraction into a 5-minute casual distraction where people, after they've already distracted you, they feel the need to keep on having small chat and talk about the weather and so on and so forth while you're trying to solve people's problems. Chat is the biggest destroyer of MSP efficiency. I'm sure of it. It wastes a bunch of time. It's not efficient. A lot of people still type like this. What can I say? If it's not urgent, maybe email or write a ticket note with a CC email. Assign the person. If it's urgent, call. Chat, the only reason I feel the chat is useful, the only time it's useful is when on the phone with a client or to verify someone's free for a call. That's a good chat. Are you free for a call? Yep. Okay. I'm calling you. I try to get people, if they write, hi, Eric, I expect them to, before they press enter, write the whole thing they're asking so I can respond immediately after I've been distracted. And the only reason chat's useful is... really useful is if you're on the phone with a client, fixing their problem, trying to figure it out, and you're chatting with your colleague who can help in an escalation situation, in a live escalation. So communication policy and getting the clients to follow it, emailing in a service ticket rather than calling it in saves everybody time. And if your clients trust you and your service, they will have no problem with this. If they don't, and training the clients, if it really is urgent, send a quick email first, then call us and we'll have the ticket in the system rather than asking who you are for the first 2 minutes and typing what you say. We'll have it in the system and we'll see who can take your urgent issue immediately rather than 2 minutes after you call. Anyways, training the communications policy is key for an efficient MSP, keeping people focused, keeping people happy and generally stress-free. So, the next one that I see a lot, number 10, lack of clearly defined roles. This goes back to no manual, but specifically the role that I see lacking the most is a designated person who is the service desk manager, who is or technical lead / service desk manager, who is the first point of contact for all issues regarding the service desk staff, and who will take any issues that they can't handle or need a second opinion on and take that to the managing director or somebody above them. The reason is I am a managing director of a company. I have to watch finance, sales and marketing, HR, recruitment. I have to, all of that stuff. You know what it is. It's a constant struggle to shift gears all day and all of this. And the service desk stuff is often, if you have your role set, that you have someone doing that role, then you won't have to jump in when something really bad happens. The first point of escalation, it's going to be the service desk manager. So a lot of companies that I see that make their lives chaos don't have the service desk manager, don't have that first escalation filter before it reaches the person who owns the company or is responsible for managing all aspects of it. If you don't have this role and you've got more than 5 engineers, I would recommend you try to first write down what this role entails, what the roles and responsibility is, and get somebody in there as soon as possible. It will make your life so much easier, trust me. I've seen lots of examples of MSPs that have this and how well they work, and MSPs that don't have this and how well they don't work, if that makes sense. It's a question of size, and can you really focus on growing your business if you're distracted constantly with service desk stuff? It might be worth the investment on hiring the right person to handle the service desk for you and report to you with the results and decisions that need to be made from an upper management perspective. So you need that sort of middle level of management in there. And once you do, it's really good, especially for us as an outsourcing company, to have that first point of contact and be able to escalate that to the higher ups. Yeah. That's the role that makes it all run smoothly. Now, this leads us to the last point, number 11. You are too available. You're the owner of the company, managing director, probably the main salesperson, probably the account manager, probably this, that, and the other. And you tend to make yourself available. This goes into communications policy as well, especially in how people communicate with management, how they escalate issues. You're too available on email all day to make snap decisions. Nobody's documenting these decisions, and so they're not reproducible in any way. There's no manual of, you're slowly imparting your staff with internal psychic sense of what you would possibly do in a situation, but you're not creating any sort of concrete stuff. So if that staff who has that stuff in his head leaves, you have to start fresh, training someone new. So you are too available for making decisions and nobody's documenting it. I really try to get my staff to book times with me rather than bombard me at any moment with this question, that question. I like them to send emails first before they call me, unless it's really, really urgent. And it works like a charm once you train them. And another one is think of 2 possible solutions for the problem before you ask me. I've gone a little far with this. I've got this Calendly software, and I ask the staff to book a time with me, fill out a form, and it appears on my calendar. And they can email me if it's urgent. I might write back when I see it, but typically I'm making videos like this, in calls like this, working on issues that I've scheduled myself to work on, and it's better if they book a time when I'm free, and so I can dedicate that to them and actually make well thought out decisions rather than the typical 13 unread messages, and half of them require a certain amount of compass and decision making consideration from me. And I'd rather discuss things in full and make decisions that I've had enough to sort of rattle around in my brain and consult my intuition and make those decisions based on a process that I feel good with afterwards, rather than rushed, chaotic, jumping from one topic to the next. So there you have it, folks. These are the 11 things that I find in MSPs far too much. It's a great business if you could be organized, if you can document it, and if it's teachable to people that you hire and they don't have to constantly consult. It's a horrible business if you let it turn to chaos by not setting the ground rules, by not taking proactive steps, by not having the right way of onboarding staff and clients. And I hope this has helped sort of explain why your life might be chaos from my perspective as someone who's worked as an outsourcing trainer, consultant, and in fact a service desk technician for several of these companies. More than 12 now. If you want to book a call with me, I'll leave the link below in the description. Calendly, that I was talking about it just a moment ago. You can click on this, book a call with me. Or if you want to send me an email, my email is in the description as well. So thanks a lot for watching. Support Adventure, the expat outsourcing company, helping you save half on your staff and become more organized We offer complete documentation services, manual creation, all sorts of stuff. Timesheet review for your technicians based on a criteria that we help you nail down. Just like, the things in life that, that McDonald's hamburger, that Big Mac is the same around the world. You want to offer a consistent service to your clients. You want to have every confidence that your service is going to work for clients, just like as much as airline companies have that their airline is not going to send up a plane that doesn't come back down in one piece. So thanks a lot, guys. And I wish you best of luck on your MSP journey. Have a great day.